Joining us in the conversation this evening is an author, a social worker, health advocate, a media and development communication expert, and particularly for this conversation, she is also a fibroid survivor, and that's none other but Mrs. Adebisi Adetunji. Good evening, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, and let me also put it out there that because we've not had her on the show for a long time, not a long time, maybe other shows, but on Eve's Lounge, no. She is also the program officer, Breakthrough Action Nigeria. Yes, you wrote a couple of books. I was going through your profile and all of the things you've done. I saw 20 years in midwife practice. I'm saying, hey, wow, amazing, interesting. Also, the books that I've seen are actually very interesting. But one caught my attention because you are also, sponsored us, with that book. You gave us that book then at the event. And going through it, Fighting Fibroid. You've gone through it. You've seen how it is. I'm happy you're here to tell the story positively. Let us first start from that statement that doctor told me. He said, many women have fibroid. It just depends on the position and the size. If it is in like manageable position or size, because I don't even know the right word for that, you might not be having too much health complications. So you can just go on about your life. Is that true?
Yeah, a lot of women deal with fibroids, right? And particularly us Africans, Black women, we are more susceptible to having fibroids, and I think medically there is really no known cause as to why women develop fibroids. So it's true according to statistics and data. A lot of women would have fibroids in their lifetime, and it's something that you can actually live with if it's not disturbing you, if it's not hampering or hindering your normal day-to-day activity, your regular activity is not disturbing in any way. I mean, you could just live your normal life. It becomes an issue when, for example, you talked about the woman that her stomach is protruding.
Yes.
I think without even seeing her, I think it's already at that point, hampering her lifestyle, because again, your stomach is protruding out. It means it's the fibroids are probably multiple and they are big. So, and when you have such a case, I think it's important that you do something about it and not just appropriate, measures, not just ignore it until it becomes a problem. So maybe as we go on in the conversation, I can talk about how mine affected me and all of that. So
we will definitely get there, because that's the essence of you being here. But I would like to take you upon this aspect. And now, okay, it is known now that sometimes if it is not really affecting your day-to-day activities, you can actually go on with your life. But better still, you should know the level at which that thing is. And you've also said there is no known reason or cause. From your experience, how did it come to be? Like, how did you know there is something there? Okay, what led to it?
So it's fibroid is a non-cancerous tissue that feeds on the same hormone that makes us menstruate as women, and it grows basically on the uterus, your womb. Is on the reproductive organ, really. So, and the hormone feeds it, and the tissue grows, and it may just be small or it may grow big. Some fibroids are small, but they cause a lot of problem for the woman having it, especially when it is causing bleeding. So how did I find out that I had fibroids? So my first baby, my son, when I found out that I was pregnant, I just went to do a scan, really, to just basically confirm and know how my baby was doing. And so the doctor, after the scan, says, oh, congratulations, madam, your baby is doing well and all of that, but you have fibroids. Okay? For me back then, I knew about fibroids, but maybe not much. So it kind of like clouded the whole good news that my baby was doing well. So I had to like ask the doctor, what does this mean? And I say, well, since you got pregnant without the fibroids disturbing you, you'll be fine, you know. So, and that was how I started the journey. Before my second baby, my first baby was very, very eventful. I mean, it was a very eventful pregnancy. And one of the challenge, of course, is the baby was growing alongside the fibroid. So the baby and the fibroid, contesting for space. Although my fibroid was outside the womb, right? Probably another reason why I could get pregnant. But as my baby grew bigger, it presses on my abdomen, presses on my bladder, it became uncomfortable. Sometimes my leg can just seize, so, and by the time I think it was almost like maybe 2 weeks to delivery or something. I can't really place it now. I had what you call placenta previa. That's another story entirely. We don't want to go in that direction here. So I was bleeding. That's bleeding where the placenta detaches from the baby. So I was bleeding heavily and I had to undergo a surgery to deliver my baby. But my doctor did not remove it, the fibroids, because again I was bleeding and they felt because of the nature of the tissue that I was already bleeding a lot. They didn't want to, touch the fibroids and then it caused more bleeding and endangers me and all of that. And they felt okay. Eventually, when they reviewed me later on, there's 4 years gap between my first child and my second child. So the doctor said, well, my consultant said, why don't you just have all your babies since you were able to, get pregnant before we come and do something about this. So besides the pregnancy thing, my fibroid was not really disturbing me. Then I think the knowledge about what it could do, it didn't really sink in. I didn't understand it. Because again, my menstrual flow was always very heavy. And I didn't know at the time that it was as a result of the fibroids. So it was just like a normal, she been at 5 days, let's just, so we flowed really, and it wasn't disturbing me and all of that. I'm slim, but after a while, years down the line, I realized that I was using the toilet more. I wake up in the night to rush to the toilet. I could literally feel the fibroids moving. Like you are lying down, you are just seeing it, moving. So I now had to go to do a scan. I went back to my consultant, like, okay, let me begin to... At some point, I began to think of doing something about it. I and my husband discussed, like, we need to do something about this. So I went back to my consultant. They were like, okay, go and do a scan. And then by that time, I realized that it was multiple, but the number had increased, And I was like, oh, I really, really need to do something about this, which led us to, taking a decision to do it like a permanent solution to it.
Okay, let me just let the ladies ask their questions before I go on.
Okay, so I want to ask, is it safe to say that ladies should actually go for fibroid screening or check, just like HPV, cervical cancer and all that?
To be honest, I haven't had conversations about people in their ages 25 having it. I think it's usually it occurs, it begins to present in older. Though mine was early, because I think I was 28 then when I was pregnant with my baby, right? So it presented early as a tiny, thing. So we can safely say it's possible at that age that you don't even know that you have it, and since it wasn't really disturbing. So it's possible, but it's more they'll tell you it's more in older women, really, not so much in young women. But then we may need the medical experts to provide the correct information about that. I won't like to go in that direction. But then again, when you said what you said about 25, and now I'm saying mine actually at 28, I found out. So
probably it was there and
I didn't really. There's no reason to notice because you are living your normal life. The only reason why I got to know was because I went to do a scan for my baby. So I think it's when you said it, I thought along the lines that you just mentioned, that perhaps it's okay to do a fibroid screening if you feel okay, you notice that you have some of the symptoms, lower abdomen pain, heavy flow. You may just want to screen a scan. This is the only way, of course, mostly is a scan that will show clearly that, okay, you have fibroids or you don't have. So it's okay to go for fibroid screening. But then again, I will also want to put a caveat. Let's not now begin to walk in fear. You know, because sometimes it's okay. I would say regular check, it's fine, health check up, and you know. But let it not be like, hey, let me know whether that you have fibroids is not a death sentence, really.
Yeah. Of course.
So it's not a cancerous thing unless
it's not cancerous.
It's not cancerous. So you can live with it. People live with it all their life and nothing happens. But once it begins to disrupt your normal life, then you may want to be healthier and you know.
You went through the surgery, right?
Yes.
And you're very certain that it is thorough, nothing else, no complications.
Okay, so there are two kinds of surgery, medical procedure that you can do if you want to go the way of the route of surgery for fibroids. There is what you call myectomy and hysterectomy. Myectomy is they just, you know, like cut the fibroids, but they don't do anything beyond that. There's a lot of chance of it growing back. Usually it will grow back because it's the hormones of your menstruation, your period that it thrives on. Normal. So which is why they say, okay, when you get to menopause, it begins to shrink and all of that, you know. So for me, I opted for a hysterectomy. A hysterectomy is removal of the fibroids and what it grows on the uterus. So I and my husband had the conversation that, we didn't want to, we're done with having children. And this was beginning to like, the menstrual flow, when I got to that point where I pee in the night, it was crazy. I was using like one sanitary pad a day. When I mean like a pack in a day, yeah. You use 7, the pack of 7, you use it. You know what that means. So you put your sanitary pad and, you know, the flow just, you know, pops out. I go to work. I have to rush on days when I have it. I have to take permission from my boss. I have to go home because I cannot that back and forth using the ladies to change. It's because eventually my clothes get stained. And then when I'm traveling, my job takes me, I do a lot of traveling. So it had gotten to a point where we're like, okay, this is it. So we got to see my consultant, had some sessions, counseling session with my husband and I. I knew what I was going for, and we opted for that because that's like the permanent solution.
You took out the womb alongside.
Yes.
You took out your womb.
Yes.
Wow.
I'm not young. Yeah. Even though you look young. So as at the time we made that final decision, we had been thinking about it. As at the time we made that final decision, I was already having premenopausal symptoms. Because when you do hysterectomy, the removal of your uterus, it is automatic menopause. You enter menopause.
You stop
straight up.
Yes,
you enter, you know. So I was already experiencing that. My last baby, she's 17.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm like, I and my husband are like, okay, my husband was more of course, there was all of the, you remove your uterus, even though your womb, even though you've had a child, the unsettled feeling of doing that was there. I won't deny that, but eventually we're like, my husband was like, okay, this is about your health. That you are fine is more important to me than, you know, whatever conversation anybody is going to have. And you will notice in my book, Fighting Fibroids, I literally chronicled the journey, apart from where I found out the journey of the hysterectomy. The reason it was that when I was going to undergo the hysterectomy, I looked online for a lot of information about it. I saw a lot of information, but not so much from the African context, because we are very private people.
Yes.
So I was like, there isn't anything. So I wanted to know how an African person, you know, even people will tell you, they will tell you do this, you do. Thank God for all of those people that are open. It helped me because I needed to know what I was going through. If you read the book, you know what I chronicled everything from going into theater, what I experienced in the theater, the post-op, everything. So that somebody that needs to go through a hysterectomy like me, we know how I prepared mentally, psychologically, work-wise, physically. I prepared for it. My family, we prepared for it together. That's what made me to write the book, so that anybody that needs to go through will have answers. And even in the book as well, I had my consultant. I actually gave a total chapter to my consultant because I needed to interview him to give the medical perspective to it for people that may not go through a hysterectomy like me, or so it was just to provide answers. But then again, fibroid is not a death sentence.
So let's pick it from the Africa concept.
Yeah.
Africa, we're very superstitious. Very, very superstitious.
Yeah.
So just help us outline some of the myths about fibroid.
I think, I'm not sure I really know all the thing that surrounds it. But then again, trust us, in Africa, they may say the ones that get big, instead of them going to do something, the fear of, if I go and do it, Yale or come somewhere, it's going to do me something that will cause you to die. So there's that fear. That's why sometimes people, it grows, they don't really do anything about it, because the fear of, if I go to surgery, or once people hear surgery, they run.
Exactly.
They disappear.
Exactly.
The fear of, how do I come under the knife? Just the same way people want to deliver now. They say, CS, Olamide. Meanwhile, the mother and child they are in danger. Mm-hmm. And the people these days opt for surgery to CS to deliver. So the fear of, why would you are whole? Why would you go under the knife? You become a half human being. So I think the myth that surrounds this again is they feel when you have to undergo surgery, going under the knife is sort of not right. Then the other part of somebody that wants to go through a hysterectomy like me, removing my womb, they're like, you become a half human being. The way I came from heaven, that's how I'm going to go back. At the risk of your health. So some of the myth is that fear of, Odala Boara in Yoruba times. No, you are not Ala Boara in any way you get. So those are some of the things I have heard that surround it.
I remember a story now. A family friend, actually, he has been dating this girl for a while. I think a very wonderful relationship. But his mother got to know that the girl has fibroid.
Okay.
Yes, I think she's now 20s, 25, 26 or so, 24 or so. So because of that, the mother broke the relationship. She forced her son.
Because they were scared of going through the surgery, the money.
The
money, right?
Let me tell you what happened, though.
That she will not have a child. Okay, so
that she won't have a child. Because of that, she made her son end a very beautiful relationship.
So
God,
let me chip into that. Again, thank God for this opportunity to educate her. So I think it's the gap in the knowledge. I had fibroids. So again, there are many women that have fibroids that have their babies. I had fibroids, and I had all my children with the fibroids. And I'm not the only one. I have friends who had fibroids, and, they were able to get pregnant. And even when the fibroids is in a position where it can affect pregnancy, because again, it's the positioning, right? Yeah. Even when that happens, it's all about getting proper counsel from your medical experts. Not the people that say you should go and use agbo. That will make the fibroid to be growing bigger. Mm-hmm. That will damage your liver or one other organ in your body in the name of using agbo or all of the traditional herbal thing. I know there is a lot of other conversation around. There are natural ways to,
Actually, as a woman who went through that.
to take care of fibroids. I don't want to go into those kind of conversation. For me, I chose not to go in that path because I was worried about the implication of that to my organs or something. And then if it has grown bigger, there's only so much to what a natural method can do. When it is bigger or something, you have to go the way of the medical to solve it. Forget about it. And some people take a lot of traditional stuff. They tell you that as you are bleeding, but she ain't bleeding, it's a lie.
Man, I actually know of someone. It actually grew.
You know why it's a lie? If you are bleeding, fibroids is a tissue, right? When my fibroids was brought out at the surgery because I was awake, the spinal or something, when it was brought out and they brought the bucket where it was, my dear, there is no amount of bleeding that will bleed out that thing. And I was bleeding a lot. So if my fibroids was going out through bleeding, do you see all those bleeding I was doing? Oh, yeah, got to bleed out, Tom. Do you get what I'm saying? Yeah. So I'm worried about fibroid solutions that they say when you bleed, you are bleeding it out. You are bleeding out your blood. And you are endangering yourself. So I do not think that's the way to go. So if whatever method you want to use is going to be causing you to bleed, and they tell you that I'm bleeding, I had a lot of that option. People brought that, you don't worry, when So that can endanger you. And coming back to what you've said, so that we don't lose thought, consult a medical expert, a gynecologist. They have different options. Some will not go through surgery. Some they will tell you is medication if it's not disturbing you. Some they say, okay, they'll just do a minor something to remove the fibroid for wherever is hindering, pregnancy. So we need knowledge.
I also remember that, in the course of making researches and all of that, I noticed that quite a number of women died, in the process of the surgery, the removal. How can you convince the example she cited? The mother saw that the lady has fibroid. Mafia momimo, kia malo. How can you convince somebody like that, especially you that have gone through it, to say, no, it's not a death sentence, but people have actually died in the process? So what could you say could be the reason for that?
So the treatment for fibroids is not always surgery. That's what I'm trying to say. That's why you consult your gynecologist does not mean they'll tell you immediately it's surgery. They have there's a chapter, like I said in my book, they have different fibroids management. So when you consult your doctor is the one that will tell you the particular treatment option for you, tailored to you. Because my friend did something does not mean that's my own treatment. So your own fibroid may not be where my own is. Do you get what I'm saying? Your own fibroid may not be causing what it's causing in me, or maybe whatever is causing it me. So you need to consult your gynecologist, who will assess you medically. They will do tests, they will assess and say, okay, this is your treatment option. And even when you have concerns, I had concerns too, they will tell you, okay, these are the options, this is what to expect, this is how to manage it. So you need to know your own specific fibroid management or treatment option. There's no one size fits, for all.
Exactly.
Now, in terms of maybe people going through surgery and they die, and there's that fear. Yes, for any surgery, there's risk for any kind of surgery.
Yes.
There's the risk factor. So again, I'm not a medical person, so I don't want to go in that direction, but I can share from the little I gleaned from my consultants and experience. So there are things in terms of, if you want to do a surgery, that's why I said consult a proper gynecologist to guide your own specific treatment. Then if you want to do a surgery, you don't go and do surgery just in any hospital with any just any doctor. Because there are some hospitals that they just say, just come in, everybody come inside. They just want to collect money from you because surgery costs more. So you don't go and put yourself under somebody that is not qualified or experienced to handle your case. So the hospital and the doctor matters. Yes, we know it's God that handles everything, right? The hospital and the doctor who handles your case matters. Then management there's what you call post-op management. The management after surgeries, complications can come up after surgery if you don't manage your post-op well. Now, what do I mean? The care, and I documented that. I had a bit of a little small, while what happened to me was that before I went into the surgery, I told you that I read. I even watched video. Not the just like animated video. I asked questions. What do I expect before? What do I expect during? I knew the number of months, time it would take for me for recovery. I read as much as what I'm supposed to avoid, where I'm supposed to take bajari if I feel any. I went all out. And then I was also lucky. My sister is a nurse, so she was very particular about nursing me. Like, okay, auntie, we have to the care of the place, no water. I learned all those rudiments before I went in. And I knew what to watch out for. So when I had a bit of a gathering of pulse there, so I was like, something is not right. So I just called my sister. I said, I'm not sleeping well. And she came and checked and she said, auntie, go on, we need to see your consultant. I went back to my consultant and they pressed that and, they were cleaning it for me every day. And that was it. So some people get complicated when they don't manage the wound well. You start carrying something, just like when you do CS, you start carrying something, say, I'm mortifying now, I'm fine. No, they will tell you what to do, so you need to know what to expect. Those are the things that helped me. So maybe for somebody listening to me, I prepared on 3 fronts. I'm a faith person, not superstitious. Faith is different from superstition. Yeah. Now, so in terms of my faith connection points, I took time, because that was how I prepared psychologically and emotionally. I took time out to look at Bible verses that talks about healing, health, surgeries. Google them online. I put some of that. I wrote some of those down. I started, what you feed your mind with, very important. Mm-hmm. I started reading it. Then physically, I needed to know what to expect. That's why I said I researched. I went, what do you expect? What do you do? I was gathering those information because I needed to work with it. I needed to know the length of time. My family, my husband needed to know how long it would take, how they will support me. Because I didn't go out of my house for like 3 months. Do you understand? I needed to know. And even during the process, I fed my mind with a lot of things, like videos, things that motivated me, you know. And I got busy doing things, you know, writing. I mean, I write. So I write. Those are the things that helped me. So it's a journey. So just because somebody, you know, lost, unfortunately, their life does not mean you will lose your life. All right? For me, it was a question of if I didn't do it, this was already hampering my health. This was already leading somewhere. So it was either that or it becomes complicated, which eventually, if you don't do anything, you may still end up.
Exactly.
So it was more like my health first, and I looked at my options that, okay, doing it was just my option. I don't want to continue to deal with this for the rest of my life. And it was growing bigger. It had become like 8 inside of me. Yeah, through my scans. So I was like, no, this thing is growing bigger. So I needed to do something. So it was my life. Doing it was also saving my life. All right? So if you are looking at it, so just prepare appropriately, do the needful, and you'll be fine.
I think you're one of the women we talk about on the show, courageous women, brave women who can go on. I don't know if you can help us to fight insurgents. That's just on the lighter note. Should you have any question for Mrs. Adetunji, a fibroid survivor, you can hear all of the things she has said, giving us the practical measures to also look out for enlightening us, and quite a lot of things I've also learned myself. Should you have any question for her, your contribution on the show, 07047000911, 07047000911, or 081-211-71911, 081-211-71911. Let's just see if we can pick 1 or 2 calls as regards to that. So I was going to ask you, in all of the things you said, it's so interesting. Okay, let's have this. Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
Yes, good evening. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Juliet. Coming from Adebisi. I just want to ask, what caused that thing?
Okay. All right. Okay, thank you, Idris. I can barely hear you actually, but she said you want to ask what causes fibroid. She already answered that.
Okay, it's fine. So okay. Maybe he missed that part. So yes. There is no medical explanation as to what causes fibroid. It's already, it grows on the womb, the uterus. Grow. So just to break it down. So and it's there's no known cause. So you may have it, you may not have it, but that you have it doesn't mean your life has. There's nothing. You can live with fibroid and be normal. Nothing. So there's no fear. Let's remove the fear. You have fibroid. No.
Okay. 07047000911, 081-211-71911. Our time is fast spent, so you might want to put a call through now. Maybe 1 or 2 calls before the show ends. Now, I was going to say, in all of the things you said, one can tell that maybe somebody at home be like, good family system. God bless her. Good money. God bless her.
Good husband.
The good husband. God, thank you. God bless her. Everything.
Supportive husband.
Exactly. Supportive family. Let's see who we have here. Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, good evening. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
I just want to ask for one of my sisters. She has that brother and baby.
Okay.
And all of us were on fear now.
You are what?
She said they are afraid.
You are afraid.
You are afraid.
You are afraid.
Okay.
Let me. So there is, like I've been saying, ma. Emma kò ní ìdíkí pé èèyàn ní fibroid ẹ jẹ́ n sọ Yorùbá kò ń ṣe nǹkan téèyàn máa bẹ̀rù oyún ojú náà pé kò sí bẹ̀rù bẹ́ẹ̀ n téèyàn máa èmi náà ní fún ọdún pípẹ́ kí n tẹ̀ tó mú gbogbo àwọn ọmọ mi mo bí pẹ̀lú ìjú yẹn nínú mi so pé èèyàn ní omi ní pé èèyàn yẹn lè ní tí ò bá ti dà á láàmú yóò máa ṣayé ẹ̀ lọ ni bọ̀ tó bá di pé ó ń dà á láàmú tí ò bá ti dà á láàmú nǹkan tó kàn lè ṣe ni pé bóyá tó bá kàn fẹ́ lọ rí dókítà ó pé ṣé kinní kan so tí ò bá ti dàyàn láàmú èèyàn máa ṣayé ẹ̀ lọ ni but tó bá di pé bóyá ó ń fa
oúnjẹ pé fibroid yẹn tó wà lọ́pọ̀ ọmọ náà dẹ̀ wà òkè.
kò sí nǹkan kan àwọn ọmọ mi tí mo sọ fún yín nísìnyí àwọn ọmọ mi tí mo bí àwọn tí fibroid wà nínú mi tí mo fi bí àwọn méjèèjì kò sí tó ṣe mí kò sí tó ṣe àwọn ọmọ so the only thing kan ni pé ẹ máa make sure pé so ẹ máa make sure pé ẹ máa kọ́ máa lọ fún antenatal wọn kọ́ máa rí doctor wọn lóòrèkóòrè kọ́ máa mójútó wọn ó ti tán ẹ bá ti ṣe gbogbo nǹkan tán ní kẹ́ ṣe kò sí wàhálà àgbóhùn ìyá àgbóhùn ọmọ.
All right, thank you so much for your call. We cannot take more calls. We apologize for that. And okay, you want to say something before?
Yes,
quickly.
I'm not trying to take us back, but when I saw the topic we wanted to discuss today, so I made my own inquiries, and I believe she made mention of something that when she was pregnant, it was when she went for scan that you discovered that you had fibroid. That shows that you did not know that you had fibroid. Yeah. So I believe that there's sometimes that I don't know how to say it in Yoruba that if tabawa didn't will not know it, it was when you discovered that you had fibroid, started seeing the symptoms, started noticing that these are
no, like I said, I had heavy flow.
Yeah.
Even as a young girl. So, and usually one of the symptoms of fibroid is if your flow is heavy beyond normal. So I didn't even know
what it meant.
What it was. So I had certainly had it maybe at a degree, and over the years it now grew bigger. So it was there, but because you were not thinking, you don't even know about it. So the knowledge is what we are talking about here. You need to know so that you can just stay healthy, live healthy, lifestyle changes and all of that.
All right. So you've said quite a lot. That author, fibroid survivor, and particularly a media and development communication expert, our own personal woman, and that's Mrs. Adebisi Adetunji. We do appreciate you, and we cannot thank you enough for all of the things you've just said. Like they would say, shoki lobeoge. All of the things she has said it, straight to the point, and I'm sure you've picked one or two. For that woman to call, I'm sure they understood you well. Thank you so much for putting that book out there, Fighting Fibroid. Thank you for all you've done for humanity, even, going about to talk about these things to ensure that we're well informed about it. So, and that's it on the show today. We cannot pick more calls. We apologize for that. Thank you so much for joining us on the show, and to you our callers, to you our listeners, we appreciate you for always joining us. My name is Damster. Until next time, I will definitely be here next time, but then let my ladies sign out for themselves.
I guess I said it all. Fibroid is not a killer. Depends on how you handle it.
Exactly.
So handle it well medically. Thank you.
And that's, tell them your name. That's okay, Juliet anyway.
Name is
and Precious, you heard from Precious, you have a final word. All right, so I guess Damster, Juliet, Precious, saying thank you to you. Mrs. Adebisi Adetunji, thank you one more time. Until next time.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, and news at 7 coming up next. Until next time, bye for now.